I wasn't sick. I wasn't in pain. But one morning, I looked at myself in the mirror and thought, wow, I look tired. Not physically, just tired of life. My hair was still there, a little thinner maybe. My body could still move fine. But my eyes, they looked like they belonged to someone much older than me. It wasn't about wrinkles or gray hair. It was something deeper. I felt like I'd stopped living and it started just existing. And you know what triggered it? I was watching TV one afternoon and this commercial came on. Young people hiking, laughing, doing yoga on mountaintops. I used to laugh at those ads. Yeah, right, I'd say. Who really lives like that? But this time, it didn't laugh. I just felt jealous. Jealous of the energy, jealous of the joy, jealous that I didn't feel like that anymore. After I retired, the first few weeks were a bit of a blur. No more alarms, no more deadlines. I thought I'd feel free, but slowly, something else crept in. Not sadness, not depression, just slowness. Like someone pressed pause on my soul. I stopped dressing up. Why bother? I thought. It's just me and the dog. I stopped listening to music. I stopped laughing at silly things. Even food lost its flavor a little. Not literally, but when you lose your spark, everything starts tasting bland. I remember one day my granddaughter visited. She asked, "Grandpa, why don't you smile anymore?" That hit me hard, because she was right. I hadn't really smiled in weeks, not the kind that reaches your eyes. And that night, sitting in my recliner, I thought, when did I let life get so small? The scary part, I didn't even notice it happening. It was like aging didn't just happen to my body, it happened to my spirit. But here's the thing, I want you to know, that was the moment I knew something had to change. Not a big dramatic makeover, not a bucket list trip around the world, just one thing. One simple shift that could help me feel alive again. And guess what? That one thing worked. Well, it's what brought me back to life. Not physically, but emotionally, spiritually. I'll share exactly what it was in the next part of this video. But first, let me ask you, have you ever looked in the mirror and felt like you were fading? Not outside, but inside. Tell me in the comments. I promise you're not alone. So, what was that one thing that brought me back to life? It wasn't a new diet. It wasn't joining a gym or moving to Florida. It was something so simple, I almost laughed when I realized how powerful it had become. I started walking every morning, just 15 minutes. That's it. No fancy shoes, no Fitbit, no 10,000 steps a day pressure. Just me, my old sneakers, and the quiet streets of my neighborhood. At first, it was hard to get out the door. I'd make coffee, sit down, and that little voice would say, "Why bother? You're retired. You've earned the right to relax." But I'd look at myself, really look it, and say, "You're not doing this to burn calories. You're doing this to feel alive again." The first few mornings, it didn't feel magical. The air was cold. My knees ached. The world still looked gray. But then something started to shift. I noticed the birds. I noticed the way the light hit the trees. I noticed an elderly couple walking hand in hand, and I smiled for the first time in days. And after a week or so, I noticed something else. I started looking forward to it. That little walk wasn't just exercise. It became my time. A moment to breathe, to clear my head, to remember that I'm still here, still moving, still a part of the world. Soon, that 15-minute walk became 20. Then I started saying hello to neighbors. Then I added soft music in my earbuds. jazz, old Motown, sometimes even a little classic rock. And guess what happened? I started feeling lighter, not just in body, but in spirit. My posture improved, my thoughts got clearer. I even started whistling again, something I hadn't done since I was 40. This tiny act gave me back a sense of rhythm, of purpose. It reminded me that life doesn't have to be big or loud to be beautiful. Sometimes it's just about showing up for yourself, every day, in a small way. And that's the part no one tells you about retirement. You have to rebuild your energy, one habit at a time. No one will do it for you. But the good news? You don't need a grand plan. Just one small thing. For me, it was walking. For you, it might be gardening, or journaling, or dancing alone in your kitchen to an old favorite song. Whatever it is, choose it. Start small, stay consistent. And here's a simple tip. Don't wait to feel motivated. Start even when you don't feel like it. Because the feeling comes after the action, not before. What's one small thing you could do today that might help you feel just a little more alive? Tell me in the comments. I'd love to hear your answer. You know what really surprised me after retirement? I had no idea how often I had started saying no to life. No to new things. No to social invitations. No to anything that felt even a little bit outside my comfort zone. It wasn't intentional. I thought I was just being realistic. But over time, those little no's, they started to shrink my world. And one afternoon, my daughter called and asked if I wanted to join her and the grandkids at the park. I almost said, not today. I had laundry to do. My knees were aching. The couch looked inviting, but something in me whispered, left, double quotation mark, today. So I did. I put on a loose t-shirt, grabbed my walking shoes, and went. And that day turned out to be one of the best I'd had in years. I didn't do anything special. I didn't run or play tag. I just sat on a bench and watched them laugh, run, and tumble in the grass. My daughter handed me a sandwich and said, "I'm glad you came, Dad." That simple sentence, it hit me hard. I hadn't realized how much I missed being part of life. From that day on, I made a little rule for myself. Whenever I feel the urge to say no, unless there's a real reason, I pause and ask, am I saying no out of habit or out of fear? That one question changed everything. I started saying yes to small things first. Yes to walking with my neighbor in the morning. Yes to trying a new recipe with a friend. Yes to joining a local book club, even though I was nervous I wouldn't know anyone. Each yes stretched me just a bit further. It was like waking up muscles I forgot I had. Not just physical ones, but emotional muscles. Curiosity, doubt, joy, playfulness, openness. And here's the funny part. Every time I said yes to life, I felt younger. Not in the wrinkle-free magazine cover way, but in the way that mattered most. I felt awake again. Have you ever said yes to something you were hesitant about and ended up loving it? Share your yes moment in the comments. I'd love to hear what opened your world a little wider. For a long time after retirement, my days looked exactly the same. Wake up, coffee, breakfast, watch the news, maybe a walk, lunch, dishes, TV, maybe a call, dinner, sleep, and repeat. I thought this kind of routine would feel safe, familiar. But somewhere in there, I realized something alarming. I was alive, but I wasn't really living. You see, when every day feels like a copy of the one before, something inside begins to shrink. I stop noticing small joys, stop being curious, stop feeling anything, really. Until one morning, I did something unusual. I woke up and said, what if I did one thing differently today? That day, I skipped the news and listened to an audiobook instead, something light and funny. The next day, I tried a new route on my morning walk. On the third day, I went to the park and just watched people. I even struck up a conversation with a lady walking her pug. These were such small things, but they snapped me out of autopilot. I started to notice life again. The rustle of leaves, a child's laughter, the smell of someone grilling down the street. And with that, I felt a shift, a spark. I remembered that joy doesn't require grand adventures or expensive hobbies. Sometimes, joy is hidden in doing something unfamiliar, even slightly uncomfortable. I'll tell you something funny. One day, I signed up for a watercolor class at the community center. I had never painted a thing in my life. I was nervous, even embarrassed at first. But when that brush touched paper, I felt 12 years old again. Not because I was any good, oh no, but because I was playing. No judgment, just color and mess and laughter. That, my friend, is how you bring youth back into your bones, by surprising yourself. What's one small change you've made recently that made life feel fresh again? Tell me in the comments. I'd love to borrow some of your inspiration. You know, I used to think feeling young again meant running around with endless energy or trying to look like I was 30. But now I know better. Feeling young has nothing to do with your age and everything to do with your spirit. It's about being curious again. It's about saying yes to little adventures. It's about laughing more, worrying less, and it's about waking up excited. Not because something big is happening, but because you're open to life again. What truly helped me feel young again wasn't magic or money. It wasn't some secret diet or beauty routine. It was this. I chose to stop shrinking. I chose to step forward just a little, to the little forward, just a little dance while I do the dishes. Sometimes it's calling an old friend, and sometimes it's simply sitting on the porch and watching the sky change colors without rushing off to do the next thing. That's the beauty of this stage in life. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. You just have to give yourself permission to live fully again. There's one moment I keep coming back to. I was sitting in a small cafe, just enjoying my tea, when I caught myself smiling for no reason. No phone in my hand, no one across the table, just me and that quiet joy. And I thought, this is it. This is what youth feels like when you're older. If you've ever felt like life after retirement became too quiet, too predictable, I hope this gave you a gentle reminder that your spark is still there. All it takes is one small yes to light it up again. So now, I'd love to hear from you. What's one small thing that makes you feel alive again these days? Drop it in the comments. You never know who might need your spark. If there's one thing I've learned through all of this, it's that retirement isn't the end of the road. It's the beginning of a different kind of freedom. A freedom to choose joy, rediscover wonder, and reconnect with yourself in ways you never had time for before. I'm not trying to chase youth. I'm simply learning how to stay open, to say yes a little more, to try without fear, to live without apology. And you know what? That one shift, that one yes, made all the difference. It brought color back into my days and a little bounce back into my step. So, if you're sitting there wondering if it's too late to feel excited about life again, let me tell you from the heart, it's not too late. It's just time. Feeling young isn't about age, it's about attitude. So what's one thing you could try this week, just for you? Share it in the comments, because sometimes the smallest yes can lead to the biggest joy. And if this video gave you a little lift, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for being here. See you in the next story.